Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is Thursday. It's March the 11th, 2021. It's another Technical Alpha podcast. Got another great show lined up for you today. Welcome in, everyone, from the land of RP. I hope that your chopping was great and your slapping was even better. We are going to talk all sorts about video games and movies and television, and more importantly, we talk about a very specific thing right off the top of the show. Mr. Black's most important question of the week. How was your week?
Oh, just another week, man. Just another week. We're back to that.
Back to that? That's good. After
good.
several weeks before, I think you're happy to just say it's just another week.
That's it.
Yeah, no, pretty much the same for me. I finished playing enough Valheim to review it. I wrote and recorded the review yesterday. And Mark sent me a draft late last night, so I'm going to take a look at that after the show today, and then go from there. That'll be the first critical hit test run review, and then I've got to figure out what the hell I'm going to do next. I think Forza Horizon 4 just landed on Steam, and it's getting all sorts of attention. It's like in the top 2 or top 3 a few days in a row now, so a lot of people interested in that, and we'll be probably looking into it again, so I might have to do something along those lines, or something else, I don't know. Either way, that was mostly my week. That's pretty much all it was. Playing Valheim, and then reviewing Valheim. Pro tip, play it solo. If you can. The multiplayer stuff is okay if you're playing, like if you and I were playing multiplayer, for example, because we're only 30 minutes apart, wouldn't be so bad. But because of how they do, how they handle like game logic and everything, it's the dedicated server thing does absolutely nothing. So it'll just randomly select, well, it's not random, there is a method to the madness, but it will select a single player on a server as the one whose computer will essentially be running the game logic, and then everyone is synced to that person. So if you're running a dedicated server, and then let's say somebody goes out on an adventure, and they're gonna go collect wood, and they're way further away from everyone else, and the game is going to select them to do the syncing and the game logic, so everyone's now technically syncing to them. Their ping to the server, your ping to the server, but also how strong your computer is to do all of that, dramatically affects how everyone else sees the game. So, like, you could always tell immediately, for example, when I was playing with the Brits, Shady and Fox, if the game decided to load it onto their PC at the time, I'd go to open the door in my home, and it would be like 2 full seconds before the door would open. And then you'd go outside, and you'd be getting attacked by a boar, but you couldn't actually see the boar. And then the boar would appear, but then all of a sudden it would grow wings, and it would just start flying off into the sky. And they didn't even have bad ping. It was like 100 ping to the server. So very sensitive to ping and stuff. So if you're going to play Valheim, it is a great game. Play it solo for now, and if you've got people like close by, like you got some friends in the city or whatever, you're probably good to go there, but otherwise, yeah, I'll have the full review in the not-too-distant future. And now, Mr. Black's time to talk about other video games and other news and other things. Are you ready to go?
My body is ready.
All right. First up, Twitter user Tales of Tiny, a variety streamer on Twitch, went viral with a tweet when they posted about finding an interesting option for canceled Twitch subscriptions labeled, "I just wanted to get a shout-out." Now, this isn't a new thing. I think this is just a thing that, well, apparently at least some 40,000 people that interacted with this tweet on Twitter in terms of liking or retweeting it didn't know existed. And honestly, I even forgot that they put in sub refunds. This was like 2017 or some shit. Twitch put in refunds for subs. And then in 2018, they added, like, a survey. You know, like, if you cancel anything, every website's like, why are you canceling? And it's never, I don't know if it's anyone else, but they never actually have the reason in the list that you are actually, unsubscribing for. Like, I just don't fucking care about you anymore. It's always like,
That's why they have other.
Yeah, they have other, and then it's like, write it in at the bottom, like,
in.
just stop, please, God. So that was part of the survey at the end of unsubscribing. And they found this distressing because apparently a bunch of their friends who are also streamers were getting an uptick in sub refunds recently. and that's how this came to light for them. And apparently they reminded a whole bunch of people that this feature even existed. So Twitch actually joined in the Twitter conversation to help try and clarify, reminded everyone that this feature's been around for 3 or 4 years, and then they also added the survey in like 2018 that included that line item of "I just wanted to get a shout out." However, given the reaction to that one specific line in the survey, they have amended the survey as it is and gotten rid of that as an option for people to check when they are.
Why would they get rid of that? Why would they get rid of that as an option?
I have no idea. My assumption is that they looked at my assumption is they looked at how much this tweet blew up and the negative reaction to that specific line and said, okay, maybe we could have worded this better or not done it, and then just got rid of it. But I personally don't think it really needed to be getting rid of. It's a survey. It doesn't affect whether or not they get a refund. Like, I think that was also part of the confusion, is that I think when people see that survey, that they think that if they selected a certain option, it will affect whether or not the refund happens. Like, that has pretty much nothing to do with it. It's kind of like Amazon. You know, when you refund something and they ask you why you're sending it back.
They just want to know. That's all they want to do is they want to know. And listen, there's tons of people that
is a valid
that donate or sub because they wanted attention.
Yeah, exactly. So
what's the fucking problem? You don't. It seems like the streamers don't have a problem if somebody subscribes and doesn't ask for a refund if they just wanted some attention. So, you know, if they're being truthful and they're like, hey, I fucked up, I wanted attention and this is this, then it's whatever, dude.
Yeah.
Listen, these guys are the ones bringing attention to all this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
the more you bring attention to this, the more
it's going to happen. So well, in fairness to the person who tweeted this, they have like 800 or 900 followers, which I don't know how much that went up when this tweet went out as it did. I don't think that they necessarily thought that this was going to get retweeted out the wazoo and get 40,000, 50,000 likes.
Like, what are they trying to accomplish from this tweet? Like, what is this? Is this like just another?
Well, I don't think they were trying to accomplish anything. I think they were just venting on Twitter, and it just kind of went the way that it sometimes does on Twitter. So when Twitch responded, they responded in turn and said, you know, thank you, I appreciate the clarification, and that was it, and then everything walked away. It's just that, unfortunately, it got fucking huge in the process, because Twitter, we all know Twitter likes one thing: anger. Anytime you can be angry, Twitter is the place to be. You want to tweet some angry shit? Great. You know, there are wholesome pockets of Twitter, but most of Twitter is just a seething, angry asshole that's just waiting for, you know, to jump on something, even if it's, you know, somebody who has almost no followers that just posted their shit and it just goes the way that it did. So, just to clarify, that's been around for a hot minute. It doesn't affect anything the way that people probably thought it did, which would have amplified just how the negative reaction to it. If people saw that but knew that it was just a survey and didn't affect the refund at all, they probably wouldn't have even fucking cared. But that was likely the immediate assumption, was that it was there for that reason and that people were abusing it as an option to get a refund. So, there you go. It's gone now anyway, for better or worse, whatever it is.
All they were doing is taking a survey to see why it is an individual stops subscribing, so that they can make improvements so that people in the future don't want to not subscribe.
Yeah. And the refund was originally there, and also clarify, the refund is a really short window. I can't remember what the window of time is, but it's not very long. And it was mostly put in place originally for accidental subscriptions. I don't know how you accidentally subscribe, but that is what Twitch originally implemented it for, was for people that didn't mean to, but oops, it happened and now I have a subscription. So, either way, there you have it. You got your random Twitch anger for the week. But there was something else that kicked up some conversations as well. That was also related to Twitch. So this was brought to light by a Twitter user and a cybersecurity student. His Twitter tag was Tayari. That Twitch had recently, they had uncovered that recently Twitch had added a brand safety score to their API, which grades how brand friendly every streamer is based on things like chat behavior, ban history, manual ratings by Twitch staff, games played, age, auto mod, status, and more. So there was a whole list of variables. That's just a selection of those variables that would then, of course, come together to create some number that would then, of course, signal Twitch to lump that stream in with whatever ad categories of ad buys they can sell to ad buyers. This is also not particularly new. YouTube has done it for
Ever?
a long time now. And they've actually in the last year got even more specific about it. And like, as we all remember with the label it not for children thing that just about fucking destroyed the entire platform because of how they implemented it. And then they went ahead with they're really specific with you whenever you apply the monetization now, you have to go through a survey for every fucking video. Like, it's every time. And you have to, like, go in and say, all right, there's light cursing, or there's heavy cursing, or we talk about, you know, sensitive topics, or there's violence, and then what kind of violence, and everything. Like, this is an in-depth survey for every fucking video you put on the website. Now, for most content like ours, you just go in and you say, yeah, we said fuck a few times. You just put the fucking thing on, and pff, away you go. But that's all there specifically to allow YouTube to, like, package up large swaths of content creators, channels, and videos in as granular a way as possible to file into specific ad buy categories. And they do that because if they can do it accurately, it increases the value of that packaged group to the ad buyer, which means they can charge a higher CPM. And then everyone's happier because you're not getting paid, or oftentimes, especially if you're with like an MCN, you might even still be on rev share. So if that goes up, you're going up with it. Sometimes you might be getting a really specific, like, X number of cents per, but in general, that's what it's for. So this is a form of that. Unfortunate that somebody dug it up because, again, for people that don't understand why that would be put there, this is like a giant group of red flags, right? You see this and you're like, oh my God, what is this going to mean? What are they going to do to streamers with this information? And I said on Twitter when I talked about this, I said, you know, I mentioned, I was like, this has been around for a long time. This is not the first time it's happened. Won't be the last time. Lots of people do this. Lots of companies do this. The only thing that they could do that would be insidious at all, which YouTube also does, but that would be insidious at all, would be, all right, so they have your score. So they have that for the purposes of selling to advertisers. But what more can they do with that information? So let's say that there's an ad buy going on, or they have just sold a package and it's for X amount of time, and they know they're going to be putting this on X number of channels for that period of time. Well, the only way to further increase revenue in that case is to get more eyeballs on that silo of packaged streamers. The more, now that you've sold the ads, we know which channels we're putting the ads on. Now the way to drive up even more revenue there is or we've determined the CPM rate. Now we get to cram the C part into that. We want as many people in there to see that on those channels. And so the only thing that could be insidious there, or what people would consider to be insidious, would be if they took that same score and then for the periods of time that ad run was on, alter the discoverability metrics for those channels to get more people's eyes on those for that ad run. And then when the ad run is over and it's a different ad run that might be covering a different demographic that they want, they can change the discoverability metrics again. Because these ad runs these ad sales aren't always for, you know, just 5 people with 50,000 people watching them. They package streamers or partners and even non-partners in mass. It's like it's as many people as they can get. So that's about all they could do. It's not really anything that's like particularly evil. It's not new, but of course people saw it a little bit as such. Important to note, yesterday it's already gone from the API. So it's possible that this was being a test run to see what was going on. And then, of course, as soon as this guy found it and it went viral on Twitter, now it's getting taken down. It's going to come back in some form. It's just that I think Twitch was like looking at that going, I don't want to fucking deal with this shit right now. Fuck it. Take it on, take it off, or at least hide it better than they did.
Sometimes I feel bad for Twitch because sometimes they just got to explain themselves to people that just don't understand how the world works.
It's funny because it's funny because the stuff that Twitch, I mean, I think part of it is this. Twitch does have a bit of a problem with, if you want to call it anything, transparency. So, like, for a lot of things that probably should be more transparent, Twitch tends to hold close to their chest. They really do and have for years, and I've only more recently been trying to open up a bit more, held information close to the chest. Because information is power. So you hold on to that shit as close as you can. The problem is, internet's got to the point now where you can't fucking hide shit all that easy. And then as soon as somebody finds it and knows that you're hiding it, the first assumption is if you're hiding it,
it's bad.
It's bad.
You're up to something.
You're up to something. And then you add to that Twitch has legitimately fucked up several times in the last couple of years, and it amplifies that people just automatically assume for sure that Twitch is doing something real fucking sketchy. So they've got a bit of a catch-22 now where they have sincerely fucked up, and then there are a bunch of these innocuous cases now where they're just businesses as business is with no real evil downside to it. And they have to explain themselves, or they have to hide it, or take it away, or do some other shit to it. So it's a bit of them digging their own grave, and it's a bit of the internet just being the fucking internet. And a lot of people that just don't understand how that side of the business works, or understand it enough, it just gets fucking crazy, right? So, but there you go. So that's it. It's already gone. It'll come back. Get used to it, and just be happy that you don't have to do a fucking survey every time you go live. To let them know what the content of your stream is going to be. If it's all automated, at least you're not doing it like you have to do on YouTube. Speaking of YouTube is now requiring. This is actually in the reverse. So Twitch is already doing this and it shit and has done for years. It's just YouTube is now the one doing it as well. So YouTube is requiring tax form filing for all foreign creators in regards to Google ads, whether you're under an MCN or not. So this means for countries that aren't, say, in Canada, and I think also the UK has this, we have treaties with the US for tax withholdings of exactly goose egg, 0%. So if, for example, with Twitch, when you're doing your tax filings on a yearly basis and you put in your tax number for them, and then on their end, it will pull up the treaty and be like, oh, congratulations, we don't have to withhold any tax from your earnings. They send you the money and away you go. YouTube is now doing this, but what that means is up until this point, lots and lots of creators from all over the world haven't had to deal with that shit. And not every country in the world has a particularly favorable tax treaty with the US. And of course, YouTube is a U.S. company, and so this is just how it goes. And the U.S. companies in general are quite and the IRS are quite egregious with wanting to pull tax from people that don't even live in the country. So a lot of people were obviously concerned about this. For example, South Korea, just as one that I think they listed, has a withholding rate of 10%, for example. So 10% of the earnings would be withheld. And it can get worse than that. So there are some users that this is going to be hit hard, for sure. Some creators that are going to get fucked pretty hard by this.
Time to move.
Time to move. You're in South Africa? Too bad. Time to move. Time to move. So, so anyway, that's a newer development. I think that goes into effect here in the not too distant future. If you're in the US, in Canada, in the UK, or a couple of others, odds are this isn't going to mean pretty much anything. But for a number of countries, it is unfortunately going to be a pretty massive blow. So, there you go. Okay, there we are. A team of Valheim players. This is just kind of fun news for the week. Nothing crazy, just a little fun news. A team of Valheim players have banded together to form Valheim's Body Recovery Squad. I could have used this shit in fucking Minecraft, by the way, but we never had this kind of luxury in Minecraft. The Body Recovery Squad. So basically, a lot of players were rage quitting on the verge of doing so after dying in a place that was all but impossible for them to return to. And I can appreciate this, because after having played it now, Valheim's map is fucking huge. And a lot of it, you have to get in a boat and go for a fucking sail for like half hour or 45 minutes in one direction to get to a place that you need to go. You can get memed on the way and die in the middle of a fucking ocean. You can get all the way over there and then get to an area that you didn't think you were going to accidentally walk in upon, get one shot by something that you aren't ready to fight, and now you've lost all of your leveled gear all to that point, to that one spot. Thankfully, it's not like Minecraft at the very least, where if you die a second time, the first one is donezo. Yeah, so in this one, you can have multiple death markers, and it's not the be-all, end-all. But still, there are definitely, especially with the balance in the current game, there are some biomes that even with what you'd consider relatively high-level gear, you're going to get one shot by some enemies. And some of these enemies fly, so you can't just like fucking run away or get on your boat and like fuck off. You're just going to get, shreked. So these guys got together and said, all right, let's solve this problem. So they created a Discord specifically for this. And you go through an application process. You get in and you hit a giant SOS button on the Discord. And it gives you a specific Discord tag, and it files you in, and it provides you with like some documentation to read to understand the process and get learned on how it's all going to work. Then they literally, like, this is like some fucking like customer service shit. Then they assign you a handler that then gets you prepared and everything, and then they send the fucking squad. The hit squad shows up, and it doesn't matter where it is on the map, what's guarding it, doesn't fucking matter. This hit squad of like 4 or 5 dudes shows up, and they go get your body back. and that's all it is. I just thought it was the funniest fucking thing I'd seen. And
they bring back your body for you, and so you don't have to go there.
You don't have to go there.
What do you have to pay? What do you have to pay?
$0. It's free.
Oh,
they're doing this for free.
Wow, the kindness of their hearts. They're
dedication.
Yeah.
Dedication. I just thought that was fucking hilarious, and that's kind of cool. I was trying to mentally process just being a normal player, losing all my shit, and then I'm like legitimately going to a Discord and like pressing
SOS.
the SOS.
Please go pick up my body.
Please, I can't get it. Yeah, I just thought that was fucking hilarious. So there you go. So if they aren't already swamped with fucking requests right now, they need to
stream this service, man.
They might already be, but that's a genius move, right? Like the Valheim Body Recovery service.
Yeah,
it's a great streaming idea.
It's an amazing streaming idea.
In some sad news, slightly sadder news than that for sure. After Fantasian, which is the mobile-based, I think it's only on Apple Arcade, classic RPG, that like OG Final Fantasy creator, and then Nobuo Uematsu, the composer, were working on together as like their passion project. This game, we've looked at it before, but it's the one where they built dioramas. And then they took high-resolution pictures of the dioramas, and the dioramas are the game world. And it looks super dope, and it's classic RPG style, and the Nobuo Uematsu is doing the entire soundtrack for this game, from beginning to end. And unfortunately, they have announced that this is likely his last full album for a game. For health reasons, he's got to put the brakes on. He is getting up there. I mean, Uematsu's not exactly a spring chicken anymore. And so whether it's just for age and workload, or he legitimately has some sort of health condition I'm unaware of, he is going to be stepping down from doing full game soundtracks after this game. That does imply that perhaps he will still come back and do one-off tracks, like he might do like a battle theme or an overworld theme or something like that. But it appears that we have hit the end of an era of Uematsu soundtracks. I mean, he's goated. He's there. I can't think of anyone off the top of my head that I would want to do a full Japanese RPG soundtrack other than Uematsu. There have been others that are quite good, but he is obviously the king. I'm also, just to add this, I'm fucking salty that game is Apple Arcade. Like, of all the places to put a passion project that's this in-depth, you put it on Apple Arcade? Like, you couldn't put that shit somewhere else? I'm sure it will eventually come to, like, other platforms, but they must have gotten paid a substantial amount of money to put that shit on Apple Arcade. Because really, when's the last time you heard of an exclusive going to Apple Arcade? Especially
exclusively on Apple Arcade. Get it now. No, I'll pass.
And imagine like, and it's like, obviously there are, but it's not, and there's no high profile games going to fucking Apple Arcade. So this is like the one fucking thing, right? That's salty as fuck. So hopefully it shows up. It shows up somewhere else in the future as well, because I'd love to play it. After Microsoft's acquisition, here we go. So Microsoft's acquisition of ZeniMax, which is Bethesda's parent company, so they own Bethesda, of course. We talked about this on the podcast a couple times now. That officially passed in the EU, so it's pretty much done deal there. It's going to be a done deal in the US. It would have been a done deal in the US anyway. The US doesn't give a shit about monopolies, so they're good. So after that, they feel comfortable now to talk a little bit more, but they didn't really produce anything when they started talking more about it. So yet, anyway, they're hinting a little, like Phil Spencer's like dropping nuggets here and there, but it's nothing specific yet. So for example, they did mention that again there will be exclusives from Bethesda that are just for PC and Xbox via Game Pass. That's a foregone conclusion. They will not state which games those are yet, but what he did do is he did imply that there are also games that are in Bethesda's back catalog that have previously been on multiple consoles or multiple places that will retroactively also get exclusive treatment for the Xbox and PC. So some people thought that perhaps when this acquisition happened that games that had come out before would just stay platform agnostic and it'd be whatever. But it seems that Philly has some other ideas. And rightfully so. If you spend $7 billion on a company, you lock as much of that shit up as you can. Yeah. They had contractual obligations, like, for example, with, what's the name of the game that's coming up? There's one more that's coming up that was also announced for the PlayStation. That's probably still going to be PlayStation for like the new stuff. But anything beyond that, I would be shocked if Starfield, Elder Scrolls, stuff like that wouldn't be exclusive. You got to make a lot of money back, and you don't do that necessarily by making that multi-platform if your goal is to get as many people on Game Pass as possible.
Yeah, unless the other platforms are paying you a large amount of money.
Yeah, even if there were previously existing contracts, like let's say for, like DK is saying in chat right now, for let's say the MMO or other games, when you've already spent $7 billion, you just find ways to get rid of those contracts.
Yep.
So whatever it takes for Microsoft to earn back their money in a reasonable amount of time, look for them to do that, because it will happen. Yeah, I mean, not that I don't know when Starfield is going to hit. I have a hunch that we're going to get the first minor tastes this summer. But I mean, Elder Scrolls 6 is probably, I mean, Kai's going to be in high school.
It ain't coming out anytime soon.
By the time that's coming out, it's going to be long time from now. So, yeah. But in related stuff, in order of this news that got released, they did find, or Nibel found, that Skyrim Special Edition and Fallout Game of the Year Edition, Fallout 4 Game of the Year Edition, for Windows 10 was listed on the Microsoft Store, which, for a date release of tomorrow, the 12th, which would likely mean that they're coming to the Game Pass at the same time. And of course, Skyrim is now available technically on a new digital platform, so Todd Howard is viciously masturbating right now somewhere in the world over the fact that that's going to be re-released again on another platform and maybe get some more sales. However, then that got updated earlier today. I'll open this tweet here because it's it wasn't a text list. It was a graphic here. So 20 Bethesda games are coming to the Game Pass tomorrow, and they are what they call what they have in the video or the image here. Play 20 iconic Bethesda games on the Windows PC, console, and mobile. So the list here is both Dishonored 1 and Dishonored 2 goes to all three of those. So actually, is anything? Okay, so there's a couple things in this list that are only for Xbox and PC, but I'll let you know which ones those are. If I don't say it, then I'll clarify, I guess, for something else. So Dishonored 1 and Dishonored 2, PC, console, mobile. Doom, the original, we're talking the original Doom, Doom 2, Doom 64, which is wild, Doom 3, Doom Eternal, all coming out and all on all three platforms. So mobile, console, and PC. Fallout New Vegas, that is console only, interestingly enough. Fallout 4, all three platforms. Fallout 76, all three platforms if you hate yourself. Prey is there, all three platforms. Rage 2, all three platforms. Morrowind Game of the Year Edition on PC and consoles. As well as Oblivion, PC and consoles. Skyrim, all three platforms. Elder Scrolls Online, so what we were just talking about, for example, this doesn't mean exclusivity necessarily, but here it is. Elder Scrolls Online is PC and consoles. The Evil Within, all three. Wolfenstein, The New Order, I think is that one, if I'm not mistaken, all three. Wolfenstein, The Old Blood, all three. And Wolfenstein, Youngblood? Yeah. I can't.
Sounds like a rapper.
That's his. That's when BJ Blazkowicz's daughters are the people that you play in that one, if I'm not mistaken. That's also on all three platforms. So that's a pretty hefty list. There's a lot of good games there. And it's interesting now to start to see them really pushing the fact that, like, hey, you can play these on mobile, meaning you're streaming them, and playing them remotely from the cloud for these titles. And that's exciting because of all of these streaming software that has existed, Microsoft seems to have been the most stable so far. So being able to pop on and play these games, you attach a controller to your phone through whatever device you want to use. You can even, I think, get a Xbox controller to just work with your phone. Is a neat concept that I'm sure a lot of people will make use of. But there you go. The other additive thing to this to keep in mind, as we talked about the other week, you'll remember I talked about how they're really going all in on trying to make older games run better on the new consoles. And the way that they messed with, I think it was Direct 3D based stuff to increase frame rates, like double them in older games. They haven't listed which of these games are going to be getting that treatment, but they did say that some of the games on that list will actually be getting that treatment. So not only will they be available, but if you're playing them on console, on the Xbox anyway, you're going to be getting that nearly doubled frame rate or whatever, the increased performance in those games. I suspect that would be things like Morrowind, Oblivion, Skyrim,
like the older stuff, right?
Older stuff that they can work that out, and even some of the newer stuff has that ability. Like, because some of the newer stuff, for example, the Wolfenstein games, didn't run amazingly on the Xbox One. So if they could also increase performance, and that's great. But we'll wait and see, and then when we know more, we'll let you guys know more. But that's cool. So there you go. That's your first wave of Bethesda-isms for the Xbox and PC, and of course mobile. So if you're a big fan of those things, you keep an eye out. And if you got Game Pass, or like me, you went to Tim Hortons and Roll Up the Rim had Game Pass for 1 month as a prize, I too can play some of these games tomorrow on the Game Pass. Let's see. Oh, Call of Duty voice actor. Oh, okay, here we go. We're going back to 2020 for a minute, Jeff. I know nobody wants to go back there, but just for a brief moment, we're going to go back to 2020.
Okay.
And one of the hottest news items that stuck with us forever last year, and that was Dr. Disrespect's banning on Twitch. And having never found out why that happened, of course, inevitably more stuff will come up, and this seems to be the most. In fact, I think this was one of our guesses, and it's the most logical guess to honestly of all the reasons as to why it would have gone down the way that it did. So, Call of Duty voice actor who voices Ghost in the Call of Duty franchise seems to have some information on why Dr. Disrespect was banned from Twitch. Apparently, he heard from those who work at Twitch that it came down to a contract deal. So, allegedly, which Doc also alluded to that it was about money. That was like the closest he got to actually like talking about it. Allegedly, Doc was leveraging an offer from Mixer while renegotiating his contract with Twitch, which Twitch didn't enjoy all that much. And then, as it turns out, only a week after those negotiations started, Mixer went away.
Rip.
So Twitch
lost your leverage.
Twitch apparently looked at that and said, "Were you lying about the fact that you had a contract? Because nobody at Mixer was like making endgame $30 million contracts in the 7 days before closing the entire platform. That shit wasn't going down." So Twitch looked at that allegedly in bad faith, like that he was trying to leverage something that wasn't there to get more money. And unfortunately, that was apparently why they decided to cut ties entirely and say, we don't really feel like working with you anymore in any way, shape, or form. So they just axed it.
I don't know, man. That's.
Does it sound of all the guesses, it sounds the most plausible? I mean, because if you think about the other guesses, it's like he's pushing cocaine. He, was involved in some weird sex ring. There's he's off making a new platform with Shroud and Ninja. Like all of the guesses, like were just kind of fucking out in outer space. This is the closest thing to.
Yeah, I mean, business is business, right? So I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think anybody's ever going to find out unless Doc himself just comes out and says what it is. Which you never know. He might, there might be a time where this dude's gonna release a book and the
Doc's gonna retire when he's 60 years old or some shit.
And just say, hey, you know what? I tried to take him to the ringers for $30 million, and I didn't have a contract. They found out, and fuck them. Now I'm making more money on YouTube. Maybe I don't know, right? Like,
yeah,
I don't know. I have a hard time believing that. Like, it does sound plausible, but. I mean, does Doc really need to pretend that there's a contract involved with Mixer to really get what he's worth? You know what I mean? Like the dude should already really know what he's worth. And then, I mean, even if they went under, what kind of proof would Twitch have that there wasn't any talks? You know what I mean? Between Doc and them, and they've rekindled a relationship with Ninja, and we saw how bad of blood and shit that Ninja said about Twitch.
Yeah.
For a while, and they didn't have a problem, rekindling that relationship because guess what? It's money, it's business. Doc is business. The only thing that would make that semi-believable is the fact that Doc is also a bit of a liability just from stunts that he pulled and stuff where it's like, you know what? Now we have a chance to
It was their out. Right? It's an out. Yeah.
If that's what they really wanted. But if you're in the middle of a contract renegotiation and you don't want to be in a relationship with Doc, then you just say, I'm not going to renew. You can stream on my platform, but I'm not going to pay you millions of dollars to be here exclusively. If you want to go shop somewhere else, then shop somewhere else. So like, that's the part that doesn't make any sense. Really, did someone's feelings get hurt? And they're like, you're banned from Twitch and you're not, we're deleting your channel and everything. Like his channel got deleted. You know what I mean? Do we really is it?
That does seem awfully personal though.
It's
like deleting the channel.
Yeah, and you can't be on stream with other people on the platform. Like that it doesn't make over a bad business deal. That just seems like a lawsuit, honest to God. It just seems weird. That's why I don't really believe that. I think I think the only I don't think people should speculate too much on that being true. There might be mixed truths within that.
I think like anything, it's probably like a sprinkling of a bunch of stuff, and
who knows? Who knows?
It would make partial sense to me that like this would be a situation like a straw that broke the camel's back situation, where they're looking at him as a liability already. They've already had to deal with him several different times on something that was high profile and kind of unsavory on more than one level. That for Twitch was probably already a pain in the ass, business or no. And then so if they get to this point and then the wrong person's at the table listening to the deal, and they're like, you know what?
Seems pretty extreme, dude. Like even just the backlash that viewership and everything else would get and bad press, like
Yeah.
it just over something like if he broke some hurt someone's feelings or just did bad business practices. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I can believe that. But you
Well,
never know.
the wait continues for the ultimate truth, should we ever find
Mm.
out. The tell-all book of Doc's retirement coming in 2045. Sit tight for that one. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fans got a pleasant surprise yesterday when the Shredder's Revenge was announced with a trailer, and it looked pretty good. It will be using 16-bit graphic style, something similar to the Turtles in Time game, and animations are looking really good. Like, all the Turtles have their own independent animations, very much like a tied to their personality. It looks like they've got, and it might even be a little bit mechanical. It looked like one of them, I can't remember which one it was, but they were running a little slower than the rest, so there might be like some of them are faster, but they do less damage. Some of them are slower, but they're doing more damage, which was already kind of a thing in the original game. Some of them just flat out did more damage than others, for example. But, it looks good. They did a little animated intro that was like an anime type thing, intro to it with the theme song in the middle of at the beginning of the trailer, and then they showed the gameplay. But yeah, very much like the classic arcade games, exactly, and looked good. So we're gonna see now how popular that is, because you'll remember when Battletoads got their remake and when Streets of Rage got their recent remake or their update, that they didn't go with the 16-bit graphics. They went with like the more of a hand-drawn flat kind of a look, and there was it was the great divide of how could you not do this in 16-bit, and the other people were like, it's not fucking 1994 anymore, let them just do something different. And so Turtles have chosen their side of the battlefield. And I guess what that means is they're also being very specific with who they're targeting with this, because it is basically the old arcade games. They're targeting you, they're targeting me, bordering on boomer status, nostalgia out the ass, kind of a deal. And we'll see if it pays off for them. It does look like it's going to be done well. It's not like it doesn't look like at least from what you can see in the trailer, it's a cheap kind of a one-off kind of deal. So we'll see if it pays off for them in the long go. I think you've got like just about every one of those games back there, don't you?
Oh, I've got them all.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then I think it's also loaded up on your arcade machine. At least one of them. Yeah.
It is. I think all of them are.
That's a popular one. I think that might be 80% of what's played on that arcade cabinet.
100%.
It's the Turtles in Time or some shit.
Turtles in Time is like when that arcade goes on, Turtles in Time gets turned on, and I usually play X-Men.
Yeah.
I like playing there was one more, Simpsons.
Oh, the Simpsons game. Oh my god.
They're all like similar.
Well, it's all a side-scrolling beat 'em up thing.
Yeah, beat 'em ups. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're fun. Good music and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So there you go. You'll get more of that apparently. I don't know if there was a release date for that. I don't remember if at the end of the trailer if there was anything, but it's coming. More Turtles. It's coming. And you know what else is coming, Mr. Black?
What?
Sellout time.
Oh, already. Okay. It's patreon.com/lagtv. If you guys want to throw some money at the screen, support the podcast, you can. Also, we got sponsors. We got NordVPN. If you don't already have a VPN service, make sure to go to www.nordvpn.com/OTT. Super easy. 68% off when you go there. Use the promo code OTT. You get one bonus month for free as well. On a 2-year subscription. You can get more if you want or less. It doesn't really matter, but 2 years is the sweet spot where you get all the crazy deals. You can use up to 6 simultaneous devices, so you only need one account per household, unless you've got a massive family. You can game on these. You can stream on them. You can play Valheim on them if you really want to. You can play Valheim on them and stream on them at the same time if you really want to. Also, you can watch different regions of Netflix. That's what I use mine mostly for. Unless I'm out in public Wi-Fi's, then of course I'm using my NordVPN to stay safe and stay anonymous. And yeah, it's a good service. They support your favorite podcast. They support tons of content out there. So if you're ever thinking about getting a VPN, make sure you go to nordvpn.com/OTT. Also, we've got Elgato. They've got some new products out.
They do.
They've got sound dampeners that you can put on your sound panels that you can put on your walls, your ceilings, all that fun stuff to make it so that your room isn't as echoey if you stream in a small space, or not even if you stream. Like, some people want these as well. If you're playing a game that has voice comms and when you talk, it sounds like you're in a tin can because your sound is just bouncing off every wall possible. So you can go ahead and pick up some of those through Elgato. You can always grab a Stream Deck. You can grab a Wave microphone. I mean, at this point, Elgato's got just about anything, or they've got something that you could use at this point. I mean, they've got lighting, green screens. They got different softwares. They've got hardwares. They got capture cards. They got sound panels. They've
green screen mouse pad if you want to be a hand model.
That's it. They've got just about everything. So definitely go check them out over on Elgato and show them some love because they sponsor the podcast. And that's it.
Yes, sir. And now it's time for
movies and TV.
Well done.
Thank you.
And what I could only describe as being peak 2021, Mr. Black. Sony Animation has announced K-pop Demon Hunters is in development. This follows a world-renowned K-pop group as they balance their lives in the spotlight with their secret identities as badass demon hunters.
Ooh.
So it's like the Powerpuff Girls if the Powerpuff Girls had to hide the fact that they were Powerpuff Girls.
Can't wait, Adam.
Bro, that thing's gonna do numbers. That's like you're combining fucking like anime and K-pop into like one fucking power move. Like that's.
It won't do my number though.
No, but it's gonna do numbers.
I won't be watching it.
It's gonna do some big ass numbers. You know what else is probably gonna do pretty decent numbers? A Quiet Place Part 2. John announced this on his Twitter, where they're releasing it on Memorial Day. So May 31st. If you're not in the U.S., you don't know what the fuck Memorial Day is. May 31st is the release for A Quiet Place 2. I like the first one quite a bit. I don't know if I needed a second one, but we're gonna get one. And hopefully it's as good as the first, because the first was pretty good. Yeah. What was your take on Quiet Place?
I liked it.
Yeah.
I thought it was. I think we saw it together, didn't we? Did we not see that together in theater?
We might have.
I think that was the last movie we saw together.
It's been a hot minute since we've gone to a theater, so I don't know if it was.
I'm pretty sure you and I went to go and see that together. It was like, yeah, I'm almost positive.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Well, there you go. Yeah, it was a good movie. It was a good movie. And so yeah, hopefully the next one is good. That wasn't, what was the one? It was like this came out and then there was another one. It was like there was at least 2 or 3 movies that had the exact same fucking premise that released in the same year. There was the one where instead
the one you're thinking of is
it's not that you couldn't say anything. It was that you couldn't look at them.
Yeah, that was
what's her face was in it?
Blind or whatever it was, or fucking
Bird Box.
Bird Box, that's it.
Yeah.
And that was a Netflix movie.
Yeah, Bird Box. It was like everyone had like this whole concept of you couldn't fucking say anything or look at anything or whatever in all these very similar movies. Yeah, that was that. Jumanji, Jeff. How many Jumanjis have they done now? Because this says 4.
Too many.
So according to one of the previous producers,
they have done 4. This will be the 4th.
Okay, 4th of the new, or did they consider the first one?
No, they consider the first one, and then the first Rock one was
2.
The second, and then the second Rock one was the third, and then this will be the 4th.
So this is technically the 3rd Rock.
This is a trilogy of the Rock Jumanji.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 4th one, big shocker. It's coming. I think those movies actually make a fair amount of fucking money, don't they?
They make shit tons of money. Shit tons of money, like $1 billion money.
Yeah, it's like $1 billion movie for Jumanji of all things. Imagine if Robin Williams could have enjoyed $1 billion Jumanji movie. So there you go. If you like Jumanji movies, get another one coming. Not that that's surprising. I don't remember if this was something they previously announced and it just left my mind. But Resident Evil movie got announced for September 3rd. Was that something that we knew about before, or did this just get announced like as a surprise, motherfucker?
Yeah, that got announced. A movie? Are you sure it's not the show?
It's
I
a
thought there was
movie.
a show that got announced.
No, this is a movie. There is a
Oh,
show.
okay. Maybe I didn't know about the movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the movie for September 3rd, and the poster lists just about every fucking name you can come up with in the Resident Evil canon, and I have them listed here.
Is it a live action?
I think so.
Really?
So, you know what I need? A live action one that's just as bad as the intro to Resident Evil Director's Cut. The live action, when they're like introducing all the characters and like it looks like somebody just picked up a home camera and just started filming people that like took shit out of a thrift shop and like threw it on. That would be fucking incredible. I'd watch the shit out of that. Yeah, so the names that got on the poster include Jill Valentine, Chief Irons, Albert Wesker, Claire Redfield, Leon S. Kennedy, Chris Redfield, Richard Eichen, Ada Wong, Brad Vickers, and William Birkin. So again, just about every major character that they could slam in there is on that poster. So whatever the fuck that means.
I haven't been into a live action Resident Evil anything for a long time. So I'm kind of hoping the show will kind of like do something new and
Anything.
I don't know.
As long as it's not fucking what's his name and his wife or whatever that keeps making every Resident Evil movie.
Yeah,
fucking,
I know what you're talking about. What's her face? Anyway, yeah.
Anyway,
I'm over that line of Resident. That shit has become a video game and not even like a good one.
Yeah.
So it's
okay? Here's a question: what does the S stand for in Leon S. Kennedy? I don't know if I know that. It's just interesting to me because he's the only character, I think, in the entire fucking franchise that has a middle initial.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Somebody just said, Big Braden said Scott. Okay, so it's Scott. Leon
Okay.
Scott Kennedy. Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that's right.
Yeah. Leon Swole. He's not Chris Redfield. He's not taking horse tranquilizers and punching fucking boulders. All right? Leon's a more sophisticated character. But yeah, I can't wait to see how many steroids Chris Redfield's on in this movie. We'll have to wait and see just how many he took for this role.
All the steroids.
That motherfucker just keeps
They
getting...
may as well just make Chris Redfield Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Seems like he just wants more movies anyway. Just put Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in there as Chris Redfield and call it a day.
I feel like Dwayne's pushing the limits of how much his body age can withstand the juice. I'm pretty sure he's...
Well, right now he's beaming of juice for his Black Adam movie. So I mean, the guy is literally a walking juice can.
Yeah.
And this like The Rock, man. I love The Rock, dude. I mean, I'm a Rock fan, but I mean, this guy, dude, he is. I don't know. He reminds me. He's like the dude doesn't stop, like ever. And he's a constant fucking advertising machine.
Yeah.
Like the guy
Non-stop.
does nothing but plug his products.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, nonstop.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how many times I got to hear Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson say, like, the
next season of Ballers.
No, not even. No, first he prefaces it like this. I just wanted to say, I just wanted to say to my fans that the best part of fame is hearing from you guys. That's the best part of fame.
He does that every time.
The best part of fame is
you guys
connecting and you guys, hearing your stories. And that's the best
Sometimes
part of
they'll
fame.
sprinkle in like I met a person who just like hopped out of their truck on the freeway and ran over to me.
I was just getting out of my private jet when one of the guys that does his little pylon things to bring the jet in to my private hangar, I noticed that one of his pylons there had a rock symbol on it.
Oh my god!
It had a rock symbol. Had the bull. And look, I'm even wearing a rock.
You're wearing one right now, you fucking asshole. You got.
I went and I bought it. I bought it because it's the Rock. Because this motherfucker doesn't stop. I don't even know where I was going with that, but I was gonna say this: the best part of fame is
It's meeting the fans.
meeting the guy with the pole with the bull on it. By the way, you want to know what keeps me up all the time? My new energy drink. It's called Zamoa, Moayan, Moroccan. I love my ancestry. You can pre-order it now by clicking in the link in the description below. You guys are the best part of fame. Oh, by the way, have you seen my new shoe? And I just want to let you guys know and thank you from the bottom of my heart, but this is the #1 shoe in Under Armour. It's #1 everything, right? He just got to let you know.
I deadlifted 30 more pounds the moment I put on these shoes.
I'm telling you, I got some headphones here, rock headphones. I'm telling you, the new technology, the ergonomic design of this, it has officially, because of you guys, it has officially become the #1 headphone in the world right now. I got to thank y'all because this is the best part of fame, making $300 million a year and pushing all this stuff made in China. I just, it is what
Dude,
it is.
He
It's the best
never
part of fame.
fucking, he never, and it's part
It's
of why,
constant.
it's part of why, I like The Rock to a degree. But there was a point in his career where he crossed over into some weird fucking shit that I just can't follow him down that road anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I'm following him down the road. I just I roll my eyes sometimes just because it's so blatant.
And you know what it is? He's doing what we do. He's doing what we do, but he's doing it non-ironically.
Yeah. And,
we preface all of our shit and do all this, but we do it in an ironic kind of comedic fashion. The Rock straight faced the fuck and all that shit.
Yeah,
he just doesn't cover
but he's
it
so
up.
charismatic. It's I can't hate the guy. I can't hate on him. I got to respect the hustle because he's earning it, man. He's fucking earning it. But
Obviously,
my God. If you follow the guy's social media for more than 2 weeks, you're going to hear the same song and dance at least 5 times within a 2-week period, and it's non-fucking stop. The dude has got a new product or something, or he's got to regurgitate. He's worse than Conor McGregor with the whiskey.
Yeah.
The dude, he is relentless.
Yeah.
With this stuff, like this Muana, Terramana tequila. Even the fact that I know what that is tells you he's doing his job right. There's 2 different versions, and it's I don't
know. It is what it is, but he's out there doing it.
He is out there doing it.
It is what it is. That's all I've got in the land of movies and TV. I don't got anything else. We haven't watched anything really new here to talk about that I can think of.
Yeah, I don't really have anything either. I finished watching WandaVision. We finished that.
How was the ending of that?
It was good. It was the ending was a little for me.
Was it because they had to go out of their way to open it up for something else to be happening somewhere else?
No, it was just I just found from episode 3 to 8 was just really, really good. Really, really good. And then I just found when they wrapped it up, it just felt not rushed, but it just, I don't know. It just felt like more Marvel. And I was enjoying the uniqueness of what I was getting and then realized we're getting more Marvel. And then, they just did some things in the show that made us really excited and then just kind of negated some of the stuff. And I was like, it is what it is. But it was good overall. The show, overall, because of the last couple episodes, it's an 8 out of 10. If they would have stuck the landing, it'd have been 10 out of 10 for me.
Okay.
It would have just been almost a perfect experience.
It's always so disappointing when a show is so fucking good, and then it's and it must be, as a show writer and everything, so hard to fucking just carry that momentum and nail it all the way to the end, because getting a satisfying ending is something that only a few shows have ever fucking pulled off.
Well, Marvel can do it. It's just there's just still more to come, and so I'm sure when Marvel, this is the beginning of the next phase type thing, so it's the beginning part. I'm sure when we get further into more stuff and years down the road, you'll appreciate it even more, and you'll go, oh, okay, yeah, okay, that's it. But right now, it's just this is good.
Yeah, maybe it's gonna be one of those like things where they just have a callback 5 years from now, and then it's gonna dawn on everyone and be like, "Oh fuck, okay, you got me, Kevin Feige,
Mm.
you got me."
That's other than that, that's it.
Yeah, no, there's not much else going on there. Well, then it's time to move into
Tech support.
Patreon.com/LikeTV. If you want to financially support the podcast directly, you can do so. And for $10 more each and every month, you can have a shot at asking us. Well, it's not that you have a shot. You can ask us questions, just whether or not we get around to being able to answer them on a post we put up each and every week called Tech Support. Let's see what we've got going on this week. This is apparently based on a true story. This is a good one for Mr. Black. Let's see what his response is to this bad boy.
Okay.
So this is based on a true story. Jorbach asks, how would you respond as a property owner if you discovered that your tenants were renovating without telling you?
Renovating?
Yeah.
Like a good renovation?
Well, I don't know if that wasn't specified, but I'm assuming if it's tenants and they're renting, they're probably doing some DIY shit. I don't think they're coming and bringing people in.
I mean, it depends on the level of renovations. Like I always tell my tenants, like, hey, if you want to change the color of a room, it needs to get approved. Because the problem is if it's not something that's neutral, then when they leave, then you got to cover it
17 coats.
Yeah. I do have one tenant now that is building like an entire shed / office on the side of the house, like a big a big ass 12, like a 10 by I don't even know. But I had to get him to send me the permits and the approved design. He's an engineer, so he builds.
Okay.
So like it's what he does, and it's almost complete. So like that's a value add, and he's paying for it. So,
Hey!
and he offered that, hey, if you when I move out, I can take it with me, or just
Leave it.
have it removed,
Okay.
or you can keep it. So it's up to you. But yeah, of course, he had to go to me and ask for permission, especially if you're building something that big.
So he's talking drywall, wiring, plumbing, etc., possibly uncertified tradespeople.
No, the answer is a hard no. Because if you're doing drywalling, it's not that bad. Like if there's been a hole in the wall and they want to patch it or whatever, that's not bad. As soon as you get into wiring and plumbing, that's a big no for me, dog, because then you're talking about insurance, potential insurance issues, claims. If something happens, the fucking house goes up in flames, knock on wood, that never happens, but and they find out that's just been dodgy work and stuff that you weren't privy to, you're fucked. So the answer is no. Nothing should be done without honestly, everything should be asked for, even up to drilling holes in a wall to put a TV up. Like they should be at least getting the okay. Like, hey, is this cool? Usually is. But yeah, no. Full-blown renovations, like adding a fucking room and adding a bathroom and fucking no. That ain't it. It ain't their house. Go buy your own house and do whatever renovations you want.
So I guess the to answer the so what happens if this is they're renovating without telling you. So what happens if you discover that they've done that? What do you do when you've discovered that they've done that?
Well, it's situational because for one, I would say first I'd see what they've done. So if it's something substantial, like we're talking wiring and plumbing, I for one, if it was something that was an improvement and it was like, okay, wow, I actually like what you did here, you'd have to hire somebody to go in and check the work, to make sure that it was properly done, and all that stuff. Because there are certain codes that you have to abide by, or you're it's just a liability. Depends on how much risk and liability you want to take, right? If you want to turn a blind eye to everything, and everything might work out. If it doesn't, and something bad happens, you're likely on the hook for it, right? So your insurance has an out to fuck you, and they will fuck you. Trust me. You give an insurance any reason. That's the first thing an insurance company does. When you make a claim, they look for every reason not to pay you, even though you've been paying. That will be a reason.
Mm.
So if I was in the position, I would go and see what it was. If it was something that was good, I would say, hey, I really appreciate what you guys are doing here. I like what you did. I have to get somebody to check this out to make, especially since you're using wires. Hopefully you understand that. And also, as much as I love your work, in the future, if you do plan to make any modifications on the property, you got to green light it through me first. If you don't, unfortunately, I'm going to have to put it back to where it was and take that out of your damage deposit, because also when people leave after you, this layout or what you've done may not be as uh, um, sought after or beneficial for the next tenant, right? You don't, you don't, this isn't your home. You don't own this place, right? So of course you want to just do it in a way that people are comfortable, and I'm sure they mean well. You don't want to go in there and start a fucking war for no reason, especially if they feel as though they're giving you value. Some people are just naive. Some people are just ignorant to rules, and they just don't really think things through. And so they're not a lot of the times being malicious about it. And there's no ill will, but they are breaking the rules. It's not their home.
Mm.
You can't modify something you don't own. It's like renting a vehicle from a store or from a dealership or a renting a vehicle place, and then deciding that you want to go and put new rims on it, or you want to add an exhaust pipe or whatever. It's like, yeah, you may have improved the vehicle, but it isn't yours to improve. You're not allowed to do that. It's mine. I own it. Like, I could literally sue you for that. Like, I
Yeah.
could take your damage deposit now, even though it's an upgrade, and take it from you. So, no.
Danjim asks, what is your favorite film score? So your favorite film soundtrack?
My favorite film soundtrack.
I can tell you that I only have like 2 movie soundtracks I can think of off the top of my head that I have downloaded.
I gotta go with this. Cheating a little bit. Well, not really cheating, but I'm going with the Goofy movie soundtrack, and I'm going. I think it's called Eye to Eye. I think that's what it is. Let me see. Yeah, Eye to Eye from Goofy.
Okay.
That's where I'm going. I'm going with that. Shit's fire.
Yeah, I only have 2 movie soundtracks downloaded, so it's gonna be something from one of those. The 2 that I have are The Last Samurai and Tron Legacy.
Oh, Tron is a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Tron's got some fire tracks in it.
The Matrix got some good ones too.
It's true, but
Tron is really good.
Tron, for Tron, it's the one called, I think it's the one called The Grid, where it's like, it's got this speech where, he's giving, he's given, well, not Russell, well, now that you said Russell, my brain can't fucking think of his actual name. But it's him doing the voiceover, the whole thing, and then it kicks in, or whatever, The Grid. Yeah, that's fire. And then, Jeff Bridges.
That's it.
Jeff Bridges. And then, Last Samurai, I think the track in that is called A Measure of Peace, I think is the specific name of that track, and that's fucking fire. I think it's Hans Zimmer did Last Samurai. And Hans Zimmer doesn't miss, so you could pretty much say, if Hans Zimmer did the score of a film, odds are I'm gonna go, I like it. I don't even have to hear it. Thumbs up, Hans Zimmer did it. As far as I'm concerned, he's the greatest film composer of all time. All right, what do we got here? Logan asks, what are some tips and techniques that you use when you're learning a new skill?
I just obsess. That's it. I just literally obsess over whatever I'm getting into. It's the show. I'm just I'm constantly watching videos, constantly thinking about it, and I just do practice, 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 more practice, and more practice. That's just it. See, because a lot of people would just do a ton of research, but never do the action. See, I'm the type of guy that like I'll jump in, I'll do it, and then I'll watch, 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 and implement, 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 watch, implement, watch, watch, implement, and go, go, go. That's just it. I just get obsessed over. That's why I have a very addictive personality anyway. So once I latch onto something that I like or that I want to learn, I'm not stopping
Hmm.
until I've got out of it what I want out of it.
Yeah, if it's like something that if I'm learning a skill specifically, then yeah, I'll just usually uh, do the thing, and because at the very least, the benefit of just going in and doing it as fast as you can is that you'll know immediately what within that skill you suffer at in the first place. And then you can get more specific about it later on. But if you just go and try and like understand the whole thing before knowing what you're weak in, then yeah, it's bad. And then nothing is learned without practice. So ultimately, everything boils down to practice. The only thing that you can do is practice smarter, which is why if you just do it and you know what you're weak in, focus on your weaknesses and go from there. There are two schools of thought with anything. You've got the school of thought that will say focus on your weaknesses and bring them up so that they're at the same level as your strengths. And then there's a school of thought that say fuck your weaknesses, take your strengths and make them even stronger. Was the Bruce Lee quote? I don't fear the man who knows 1,000 kicks. I fear the man who's practiced a single kick 1,000 times.
That's it.
So like there's that school of thought versus and depending on who you are as a person, one of those two things are going to gel with you more.
I'm the 1,000 kicks.
Yeah. So
I'm definitely the 1,000 kicks.
Yeah. So that's really what it boils down to. Theodore asks, let's say you want to do When Cheese Fails in 2021. Pro tip: I do not. What games other than StarCraft would you pick? The problem with When Cheese, and we've answered this question or similar questions over the years before, because lots of people have wanted us to try and apply the When Cheese Fails formula to other games. And the problem with that is that StarCraft is like really specific to cheesing in a way that other games are less.
Yeah, it that's true. I wouldn't say into cheesing, but it is in terms of the spectating and the format of which
creating
the game is.
content around the cheese is really, it's not specific to StarCraft, but it's definitely the most applicable. Like you could apply cheese in fucking League of Legends, Dota, fucking CS:GO cheese. You could there's cheese tactics all over the place. The thing about StarCraft's cheese was that it was actually something that you could turn it into content and consistently. Because there always was some level of variability in it that would make it capable for us to do, 6 years of fucking When Cheese Fails. So, yeah, I mean, and it's not that we didn't even field the idea back in the day, because we did when we were in the midst of it. Especially when we were both in 2014, League of Legends was the number one thing that we sat down and tried to come up with methods in which we could somehow apply lag TV isms into the world of League of Legends. We could not fucking come up with a feasible way to do that. So, it's just kind of like the nature of the beast for StarCraft in that it was serendipitously a good format for us to do it and easily achievable because of the fact that replay files existed.
Yeah.
If you don't have replay files, it's a nightmare. Like doing any kind of casting at all outside of StarCraft, you're so spoiled in StarCraft because no other game does that shit.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like the closest game I could have think of that would have worked for the format would have been League of Legends.
Yeah.
Just in terms of its popularity, the fact that they did you can watch replays and watch games. Um, but I mean, at the time, I don't know. Like, I feel as though like you could incorporate that, but it would be more so commentating the game than
Yeah.
necessarily dealing with the cheese, because the cheese really, unless you're doing some sort of cheesy build with the character tech tree, or playing it a certain way, would be more of a unique. It would just be like, it wouldn't be when cheese fails. It would be Adam and I doing our thing, but making it uniquely for League of Legends. That's the only thing that I could have thought of.
Yeah.
Like,
Because
obviously
what are
we
you
try
gonna
to
do?
do.
Like, if they do a cheese build of the character, what happens? They just, if it fails, it's just that
Yeah.
character
Then you
feeding,
just go into a game, yeah, and then you just go into like a
and then it's
full
just
blown
a
game or
40-minute
whatever, right?
game or whatever that happens after it.
Yeah.
So,
It would have been
yeah,
just a thing where Adam and I would have just needed to cast League of Legends and just be unapologetically us.
yeah,
And something natural would have
spun out of that.
it would have spun out of that,
Yeah.
right? But in terms of the when cheese fails, I think it's very specific
Mm.
for StarCraft in general. And the only way I ever see a series like that working again would be for another StarCraft or a different RTS that they're building. But we may not get that RTS ever, or we may not see it for another 45 years. So, it's just it. Listen, guys, when cheese fails is gone. It's one of those things that it's happened, it's there,
6
it's vauded,
years.
it's there.
There's so much when
Yeah, the
cheese
best
fails.
the best you could ever get from that would be us doing it again for
Yeah.
the same game. That's the best you could ever get. But in terms of like other stuff, um, no,
Yeah, when
I
cheese
don't think.
fails is like has entered the category where I feel like a lot of people think that they would want us to do that again, and it's not going
It's
to
more nostalgia,
it's not going to
just
hit. It's a
go, yeah,
nostalgia
just go
thing.
rewatch. It's like, it's one of those things, like just a one-off thing. It may work. But other than that, man, it's just,
Yeah,
it's the ship has sailed.
we did it for over a half a decade. There's so many of them. You can
Yeah.
enjoy that shit. And lots of people have been actually. A lot of people have been getting into my chat, and when I'm streaming, being like, "I just finished a fucking like binge of like old StarCraft videos, like light TV videos." I was like,
And
"Oh,
there's probably hundreds of hours of content up there.
bro, bro, there's over 1,200 videos just in the fucking
Yeah.
legend,
Well, there you go.
and we lost some of that content, and there's still over 1,000 apiece,
Yeah.
not including light TV 2 stuff." 8, 9, 10. Hey Jeff, what's your thoughts on bidets?
Ha! We talked about those on my stream the other day.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. I've never used one. Um, so I don't really know. That's just that. I mean, the idea of
Yeah.
them is whatever. I just thought, like, and I asked the chat, I was like, is there like enough pressure to like really clean your ass? You know what I mean? Like, just the thought of just having water just kind of spray into your ass cheeks, and
It just always seemed to me like it would somehow make it worse. I never understood how it could like properly fucking do the job.
and then somebody told me that there's the bucket technique or whatever, where there's like, where some people have like it's like a pail or a bucket of water, and they squat over it, and then they like splash water up in their ass. And I'm like, well, what about that dirty shit water that goes back into the bucket, and then you're just putting more shit dirt water in your ass again? Like, it's just weird. I don't know. Like,
Well, if you're in a Filipino house, you would have something similar, but you'd have a bucket with a smaller cup thing that you'd like scoop water out of, and you'd basically be bideting yourself, but like you wouldn't be reusing the water necessarily. Yeah. So similar there. That's a very Southeast Asian thing. Yeah, I've never actually used one. I'm sure they're great, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll install one in the future sometime just to see how it goes. Dr. Samurai asks, what movie or video game do you wish you could completely forget just so you could watch or play it again for the first time? Hmm.
ooh, video game. Man, that's tough. That's a good question. Um,
If I could also go back in time to when I played the game, that would be important. Because if I just played like some of the games I'm thinking of, I
yeah,
wouldn't want to
that's
play right
true.
now. So if we added that to the equation, I'd go back to 2008, play Persona 4 all over again after watching Giant Bomb play Jeff Gerstmann and Vinny Caravella play that. I'd do that for sure. That was like a fucking like 8 months of my life that was just fucking incredible in terms of
Mm,
like gaming. And it was like, it was the first piece of gaming that was outside of my, the what people consider the golden years, where they'll say, your favorite games usually landed when you were between the ages of like 10 and 13
yeah.
because you can remember them and it was when you could actually appreciate the games, and that's like when you would lock in some of your favorites. And so, which is true the majority of the time, honestly. So for me, that was like Persona 4 was the first game outside of that pocket where I actually like it became a favorite and like a long lasting video game memory that wasn't like, oh, I was 12, 13 years old and playing games. So I'd probably go back and do that.
I'm gonna go with I really want to say Final Fantasy VII
Hmm.
because that was a pretty special thing, and I think I would like it if I could forget about it and play the remake in its entirety.
Good news, Jeff.
Uh,
As somebody who played the remake, it's different enough that you just shouldn't care.
all right.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go and say I'm actually gonna go and say Donkey Kong 64.
Wow, that's a random one. Holy shit.
I'm gonna say just to be
You
different.
want to re-experience the DK rap?
I do, but I don't want to re-experience it today. I would
No, you had
want
to go
to go
back in
back
time. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because the reason why I picked that is, Mario 64 was the first game that came to my head because
That's what I was gonna say that
that's
you'd
like my
probably have
favorite.
mentioned.
It's like
Yeah,
my favorite game of all time. Like
yeah, yeah.
it's really top 3. Um, but I could play that again today and enjoy the game. So I'm trying to pick a game that like I want to re-experience for the first time, because I still think I would enjoy it just as much the first time as I did as if I were to play it again now. I'm gonna go and say Donkey Kong 64 because um it was one of those games that didn't disappoint me as a kid, and
Mm,
I was at that age where I had already beat Mario 64 and I loved it so much, and this was marketed as Mario 64 but Donkey Kong.
mm,
And so I when I played it, they had the expansion pack that you needed because it was more powerful version, and it was Donkey Kong, and everybody loved Donkey Kong Countries 2 and 3, in the original, and it just didn't disappoint. When I played the game, it was literally Mario 64, um, just better.
I
Not
equated it
better,
to
like
Banjo Kazooie. I thought it was
yeah.
Banjo Kazooie, but Donkey Kong.
Yeah, I mean, Mario 64 is a better game,
Yeah.
but it was like Donkey Kong 64 took the mechanics of Mario 64 and the graphics and just made it better. And instead of stars, it was bananas. And it
Mm.
was like it just made sense. So I would say for me, it would definitely I'd pick Donkey Kong 64.
Danish Devil asks, do you have any guilty pleasures that your significant other makes fun of you for?
Guilty pleasures?
Yeah. I know
Uh,
recently I've been on like this big reaction video kick on YouTube for like uh um for all sorts of shit. Most of it's rap though, like reacting to rap tracks, people discovering or going back and listening to rap
mm,
when it was still rap and it wasn't somebody having a stroke being recorded live on air.
yeah.
Um I've been kind of into that shit. And M teases me all the time for watching. You watching the reaction videos to Eminem again? Yes, dear. Yes, somebody's discovering what the English language is like if you actually use it instead of just have somebody punch you in the mouth and then try and speak over top of somebody else's beat. And so yeah, I've been into that. So she teases me about that.
Man, I don't really Kayla doesn't really tease me about anything. Um yeah, she doesn't really tease me about any guilty pleasures. Um One thing that Kayla does tease me about is I prefer to eat in plastic containers. So like Kayla will, if I go upstairs, like she's getting to the point now where she's literally gives me Kai's plastic tray and puts a little meal on it and brings it down here. But like for example, if Kayla made dinner and it's upstairs and it's on a plate and she's sitting in the microwave for me to heat up, I'll take the plate out, grab a plastic bowl, and dump the whole thing in there and then put it in the microwave and heat it up. Um, yeah, she gives me a hard time about that. Like jokingly.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's because I don't like the sound of forks and knives scraping plates.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I'm able to just, eat my
Hoe
food
in.
without go in without fucking I just hate that shit.
uh,
But yeah, no, that's I give Kayla a hard time about her watching some of these stupid fucking shows she watches on Netflix. Like I'll go up and there's like borderline softcore porn, fucking weird
oh.
vampire, weird, shitty, teeny boppy shows and shit. And I'm like, what are you watching? Like, what in the fuck? She's like, well, I don't want to watch any of the good shows without you. And I'm watching. It's like, come on now, you liking this shit. Like, this is so yeah, it's like every time I go upstairs, there's some stupid fucking show on. I'm telling you.
uh, this is for Jeff specifically. Loose Caboose asks, what still excites you in the video game world? It seems like you've lost so much interest in various games and franchises lately. So what still gets your rocks off in the video game world?
Um,
What excites Mr. Maximus Black?
Excites.
Yeah, he says, what still excites you in the video game world?
The only thing that excites me is my relationship in the business itself.
Hmm,
Um, I look at video game as a video game world now as a business. Um, I don't look at it as a place of fun anymore.
hmm,
I have fun playing games. I
hmm.
do. I've had more fun now playing role play over the last year and a half than what I've had in the last since the heyday of StarCraft
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure. Although I had a really good time with RuneScape as well. I don't, in all honesty, like I know I do a gaming podcast with Adam, and I'm more here for this to
Yeah,
hang
yeah.
out, to do the podcast, to just breathe, chill, shoot the shit with my boy, and that's it. When it comes to news about gaming, it's very rare. I would say like once every 5 episodes, 6 episodes, where there's some news that genuinely I get excited about,
Star
or that
Citizen.
yeah, like you know what I mean. Like a lot of this stuff is like just fluff and things that just don't mean much to me.
Yeah,
Um, I'll talk about it and discuss it, or listen to Adam rant about whatever. It's totally
yeah.
um, but it's because I'm not in love with video games like I used to be. I'm 34 years old. I know I've got a son, a family. y- th- Video games is not what it used to be for me. It is a business to me. It is the way I put food on my table and pay my mortgage. Um, and I don't mean that in a cynical way where, I don't enjoy it, because I absolutely do. I wouldn't do it if I didn't. But my perception and my experience with video games is vastly different than what it was 10 years ago or 20 years ago. 10 years ago, when I first started doing this stuff with Adam, it's over 10 years now, but say a decade ago, even in the beginning, um, it was still an escape for me. It wasn't my job. It was like I work at Swiss Chalet or whatever, and I come home and I run to video games because it's what made me escape from the shit, from the everyday life. It was what I did on my free time. Um, it was just different over the last, at least the last 8.5 years, 9 years. It has become work. I mean, even in the beginning, when it was work, it still felt like I was completely in love and it was the honeymoon phase. And it was like, I can't believe I'm doing this for a living. I still can't believe I do it for a living. Honestly, I still can't believe it, but I'm kind of over that now, that the shock factor. It's like, it's my life. It's my body of work. This is it. I've been doing this for a decade, since I can remember. My only real job, a couple of jobs I've had in my life, was working at Swiss Chalet and working at a dollar store and a movie theater. Everything else has been on video games, right? So like, and if I do this for another 5 years, it'll literally be my life's work in terms of like, and when I look back at a 50, 60-year-old Jeff and my son's a teenager, I'm going to look back and go, everything I have, I built on video games. So, it's my relationship with games is very different. I can say this is very different than most people that are watching this, because even a lot of people that are watching this is your escape. What we do, we're part of that thing that I used to have with video games a decade ago. Now it's different. There's enjoyment, but in terms of getting excited, the things that get me excited is when there's a game that I think that can further my career and that I would genuinely enjoy. So the only things that would get me excited would be the new RTS that's coming out. Maybe it's another competitive MOBA that we find out is around the corner or a year out. And because I don't get excited because I can't wait to just play that game on my free time and fucking shoot the shit. No, it's like, okay, maybe this is another chance for another boom for me. Maybe this is a game that I can latch onto, be good, bring my personality to it, and crush that in terms of a business sense, to have more longevity so I can keep doing this, provide for my family. That's what gets me excited. It's not the games. There are the odd games that I go, okay, yeah, this can be a good time, but I don't play games by myself. So I don't, it's hard for me to get excited about anything. I get excited from the viewers getting excited about me playing a game. That's my excitement about a video. Then I get excited because they're excited that I'm going to potentially play this video game. That's what gets me excited. And chances are I could care less if the game existed or didn't. But if it gets views and people are enjoying it and it turns out I actually like it, then I'm excited. I'm like, oh, yeah, this is amazing.
It's that's the holy trinity,
right? Like,
your stream wants to see it, you end up liking it, and then everyone actually shows up to watch it, and it's like the holy streamer trinity of fuck, which almost never happens, by the way.
Yeah, no, it's very, very real. I will say this, and I'll end it at this. My hope is that I can fall in love with video games through my son. So when my son gets a little bit older and I can go through my retro collection and show him the games that I loved growing up, and if he enjoys that, the bonding there between us and him putting a smile on his face and him playing it, that's what's going to get me excited about gaming again and reliving that through him and showing him that. It's no different. I can imagine if I was in the movie business, I probably wouldn't love movies the way I love movies now, because when I watch a show or a movie, I do it to escape, and I enjoy it. It's no different than this. I'm sure I would still love movies just like how I still love video games, but the relationship gets very different when it becomes your career, not even a job. It's your life's work. It's like going I go into the office. This is my office, all right? I walk in and this is the show.
It is. And we talked about that a bunch in the past, where the games are just not the same thing. And it's I actually run into this problem when I'm reviewing games, and it's why sometimes you'll see me give a game a higher score, despite the fact that if you were watching me review it live or play it live, I'm fucking screaming my head off, and I'm like nitpicking the fuck out of it and shit like that. It's because as a streamer, your relationship with games is wildly different than somebody who goes out, buys a game, comes home, plays it after a day's work. You're sitting down and you're playing it. Like, you might have, as a gamer, had marathon sessions with games that you've really liked over the years, but envision doing that for 10 years straight, like 5 to 7 days a week with barely any breaks. Eventually, games just, even if you like the games, a lot of your enjoyment is tied to, similar to what Jeff was saying, whether your viewership cares about that game. I mean, there are lots of games that I like that I just don't play on stream because I already get almost no fucking viewers these days. If I switched to those games, it'd be fucking 3 people and a dog showing up to watch the fucking game.
Yeah.
So you have to, like, yeah, it's that constant, it's that trinity I was talking about. And normally on that triangle, you know, if you're trying to, like, hit all of them, you know, like some fucking Illuminati shit, it never happens. Like, it's so rare.
You don't necessarily, as a streamer, you don't necessarily get to play the games you like and love. You have to play the games that they like and love. And you just have to hope and pray that you fall in love or it's tolerable that you can continue to play. And there becomes a bit of a resentment towards video games in general because you don't actually just get, like, and people will say this, like, well, just don't stream, like, just go play video game, like, just go. I've
just don't go to work.
Yeah, it's really it's that's really, really tough because, like, if I take a day off streaming, that's fine. It's rare, but when I do take one off, that's the last thing I want to do is play more games. Even if there is a game that I want to play, I just want to, like, get away from this, the computer, the controller, the mouse, the keyboard. I want to remove myself from it. It's one, maybe just maybe when the career is over and the dust is settled and I'm not doing this like 70 hours a week, maybe I will fall in love with games and get excited about them again and play them as an escape again from everyday stuff. But until then, no, no. It's and I know because I sound like a bit of a Debbie Downer when there's a news, and I should probably do a better job at faking it, and I know I can, but I don't care enough. Like, at this point, like, you guys want me, right? You want me to be truthful. You know, it's probably weird for me for you to hear me go, yeah, the Last of Us 3, I just don't give a fuck about, right? And then people out there like, man, what? You don't care? This is going to be amazing. Do you see who they got on board and what happened last time? And I'm just making an example here, but people to hear me go, like, I don't give a fuck. I know it's a bit jarring and it may sound like I actually hate video games. I don't. I just don't. I'm not in love with them anymore. It's like that. It's like a relationship where it's like you're in an old relationship and like you love the person, but it's not the same. It's not the same. This is the best way I could put it. It's just like being in love and falling out of love.
Yeah.
And now you're just like, you're there and it's a thing and it has its moments, but ultimately the passion is gone.
Yeah,
and
you
I gotta find ways to rekindle my love, I guess, like once in a while, you know, maybe I need video game therapy. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think it will end up having to be Kai, because your application for anything in life is your immediate thought process is, how can I turn this into making money? So, like, and you've been that way since you were fucking 13 years old. So, like, everything is turned into money. And when you do that,
even more so with video games.
Yeah, but as soon as you do that, as soon as that's your mindset, enjoying anything is almost impossible.
I mean, think about this, guys. Look at my retro collection back there. Yeah. I enjoyed collecting that, but I also enjoyed it because it made money. Yes. And it was a hustle.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that's honestly, and you know, the thing is I could go and buy 15 Super Nintendo games and get a 30% discount. And I would go do that. I could stream, and that might take me 2-3 hours to do. I mean, I could stream and make more money than that, but I allowed myself mentally to go and do those things and have fun with that because it turned a profit. It made sense for me. Like, time, I don't know, man. My time is so valuable that like it's hard for me to do a passion project like that for just the sake of doing it. Not only that, it'd be super expensive, just go out and buy games and just not flip them. But that was the thing that kept me going, and that's how I feel about streaming in terms of playing new games. It's like, if people gonna watch, trust me, dude, if I had the same viewership and support playing League of Legends or StarCraft or Valorant or whatever, I would play it. I wouldn't play roleplay as much because I wouldn't have the shackles on. If you could play any game that you want, and it gets you the same viewership as your best game.
Yeah.
You would play a lot of different games.
Sure.
Because
absolutely.
It makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Like, unfortunately, that's just what it's like to be a streamer.
Because semi-related somewhat to that, and the last question of the day goes to Will Hawkins here, who says, or asks, do you have nostalgia for any time in your life? I think everyone has nostalgia for something in your life. Yeah, I mean, all sorts of shit. Like, we just talked about, like, the Persona 4 run for me, 2008, like, Giant Bomb starts up not long before that as a website. I was super deep into game review and journalism back then, so watching GameSpot fucking crumble, and then lose their editor-in-chief with Jeff Gerstmann, and then he goes and starts up, and people are hemorrhaging, and they create that, and they're just dudes. It was like so indicative of like what Jeff and I did too later on, where it was like a bunch of dudes in a fucking basement they rented out in like Santa Monica somewhere or some shit, and literally a basement. And it just they immediately made the best game content to have ever fucking existed until like deep into the game, like 2013 or some shit, when YouTube started picking up and more variety was happening. But I mean, it was amazing. And so to experience all that, and then to watch them play Persona 4, the Endurance Run, which is still my favorite piece of video game related internet content, and then immediately enjoy that so much to go buy a PS2 Slim and Persona 4 just to play it. And even though I just watched two other dudes play through the whole thing over the course of like 8 months, and then love the game still, and put like 120 hours into one file for this one playthrough and get like the perfect ending and all that shit, and it was so good. And then I put that PS2 away, and Persona, I haven't played it since because it's so perfect. It was such a perfect fucking encapsulated moment. I don't want to ruin it. People are like, why don't you go back and play Persona 4 on stream sometime? Like, no. That was like the last game that I loved before streaming started up, that I got to enjoy as a game, and it hit so fucking hard. I don't want to mess with that.
Don't ruin it. Yeah, don't ruin it. Fuck that, man.
I want to keep that little picture in my fucking brain for that little like pocket of time in my life. Everything was just fucking 10 out of 10, and just that's it. It was beautiful. So, everyone's got some sort of nostalgic moment. That's definitely one of the more recent ones for me. I don't think you can go much earlier than that. Otherwise, it's not really nostalgia if it only happened fucking 5 years ago. But yeah, I mean, lots of stuff. What about you? What's a random nostalgic moment for you?
Like video game wise?
It is anything in general, I guess. You can try and keep game related if you want to.
I would say, I mean, gaming wise, honestly, and it's gonna come full circle about just not being in love with video games the way I used to be. Is I remember being, when I was working at Swiss Chalet or movie theater, and new Call of Duties would come out, and I would have a few days booked off and a weekend booked off, and I'd be at a midnight release and picking it up. And it's not because the games were anything to write home about. It was the excitement of that, and how my coworkers, we would all rush home. We'd be on Xbox Live, and we would be trying to grind to get the first prestige. And it was nothing but an amazing video game escape. Just raging at people, fucking just shooting the shit, staying up till fucking 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, crashing, ordering pizza. Like that that is that thing that I just haven't been able to experience through video games in a long time that I
Mm.
miss. Um, or back in the day, having all the burnt games and just going to Blockbuster or Rogers Video or whatever and picking out games and burning them and playing them, and just going through the pages and just putting a game in without any judgment, without any reviewer eyes or any
Yeah,
pre
just see it and play it.
just see it and play it. There's none of this like looking it up on YouTube and going to Metacritic and having your own opinions about a game or whatever. Just no expectations, just nothing but excitement.
Yeah.
I used to look at a game as it was going to be an amazing experience no matter what. I didn't look at it as how is this going to disappoint me?
Yeah,
How
yeah.
how is this going to be a letdown? This won't be as good as there was a time where it was. I didn't think of it in I only thought of it as a positive experience because I hadn't had really any negative experience. My only negative experience with video games would be like getting in fights with friends, playing Super Smash Bros. And like legitimately getting mad at somebody or something, right? Or 007,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
and raging a bit.
I think some of that too is because when you're younger and your spare time is your spare time, right? And you're not calculating your spare time. As an adult, it has become a thing where you end up having to sit down and say, all right, I've got this much time
Yeah,
that I can dedicate to fucking off somewhere and doing something, and it's usually not a lot of time. And so that time becomes even more valuable to you. And so you immediately assess everything in a value
that's it.
proposition of how am I going to enjoy this? Because I need to enjoy it. If I'm going to do this, I,
It better
I
be a
need
good
I need a promise here. Pretty much, I'm going to enjoy it. And then on top of that, as an adult, you're actually thinking about the money. This is a $90 video game.
That's true.
I need it to be really good so I can enjoy it. But also, I'm spending $90 on this game. And
That's true.
so I think that's the difference. When you're a kid, especially if you could rent a game, it was like $5 or some shit. It wasn't really the end of the world, and you'd have a few days to play it. And in the summer months or whatever it was, and you had breaks or whatnot, or you had the weekend to yourself. You don't have responsibilities. You're a fucking kid. At worst, you got your homework, got a couple chores around the house,
That's
and
it.
that's the show.
Life's easy.
So you don't fucking care. It's just everything can be. You can play shit games all the time, and you just don't fucking care because it's you're not looking at it as such a critical eye. Because if you did feel like you waste your time a bit, it's not the end of the world. You got lots more fucking time on your hands. So yeah, I think that's probably a good chunk of it for sure. But yeah, I agree. I mean, there was definitely a time where you could look at games and just be like, fuck it. This is just pick it up. It's like
Let's
when you
just pick
went
it up and go. Right?
you go Blockbuster or whatever the fuck, and you're looking at or Rogers Video and you're looking at
Back of
fucking
the case,
shit.
you're like, oh, okay, you know what? Fuck it.
Eh.
Let's try it out.
We haven't tried it yet. Fuck it. Let's find out. And yeah, it was a crazy time. So there you go. There's your nostalgic events. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for this week. It's another Taking Off podcast in the bag. Thank you guys so much for stopping by and watching the show. Hopefully you enjoyed yourselves. We'll be back next week for more with some more news and everything else in between. And until we see you guys next week, stay safe out there. For the love of God, wear a mask. We're almost there. We're rounding the corner. Just keep wearing the damn thing. For God's sake. We're almost there. And until then, peace!
Peace.